Okay, good morning Year 8, and hope you all had a lovely Christmas and New Year. Hope you're all well and healthy. So today's lesson we are going to be looking at different designers, okay, some of which you may notice on the wall of fame behind me. I'm going to describe a little bit about those designers, and what I would like you to do is to design your own product this week. But I would like your product, and it can be as imaginative and creative as you like, to be inspired by the style of one of the designers which we're going to talk about. So we're going to look at 9 different designers, but you will just choose one of those designers and choose their style of work to base your design on. Okay, so we've got Philippe Starck first of all. Philippe Starck is a French designer, French product designer, and he's designed lots of modern, creative products. One of the things he was famous for was the Juicy Salif, a product which he designed whilst being in a restaurant. He had a plate with some octopus on it, which he was squeezing some lemon onto, and designed his Juicy Salif, his lemon squeezer, in the style to look like an octopus. Okay. He jotted this design on the back of a napkin with a few ketchup stains, gave it to Alessi Kitchens, and that product is really famous now amongst designers within the product design industry. So Philippe Starck is one. Okay. Another one, 2 graphic designers. So we focus on images, and they design things like CD covers, magazine covers. You could design some kind of sort of skateboard and design a deck to look like or to base it on these particular design styles, and that's Neville Brody, who is an English graphic designer, and David Carson, who is an American graphic designer. Okay, Neville Brody in particular looks at different typography, so how different letters are drawn, different styles of writing, and he does some really clever stuff in how he uses different colours, different styles of writing to display his fonts. So they are 2 different designers which you could choose if you wanted to design the look of a product and maybe focus on the graphics. 2 other different designers completely again. We've got Ben Churchill and Heston Blumenthal. Heston Blumenthal is a really famous chef. He is well known for people's senses and sort of playing with people's senses a little bit. So as well as sort of looking at something or a plate of food, you might get some kind of sense of sound as well with it, sense of sort of theatre going on the plate, and he's really creative. Okay, does a luminous or sort of glow in the dark jelly, mustard flavoured ice cream, and Ben Churchill, again really sort of clever chef. He takes household items and he then creates them into a food product. So for example, he does something that looks just like a sort of washing up sponge, and he'll do a sort of olive oil sponge cake with a mint crumb top to look like mascara on top, and then he'll do some kind of sort of toffee sauce to look like dirty washing up water. He does loads of interesting stuff, things you might think, oh, that looks horrible, but actually once obviously you look at it carefully and you break down the different ingredients, it's really actually quite clever. I've put a PowerPoint presentation to go with this as an extra resource which you should be able to access via the portal and Teams. With Ben Churchill there is a YouTube clip which you can look at, and it's worth just having a look at that because I think you'll find some of the food products really interesting and really clever. So you could design a plate of food or a food product like we've got here, or you could design a menu which is really creative, imaginative, a little bit different to just your bog standard menu you might get in a restaurant. Okay, really think about how you can make yours creative. We then got Ross Lovegrove. Ross Lovegrove is a Welsh designer, again product designer, and his inspiration comes from organic forms and nature. Okay, so he'll look at a lot of natural shapes, lots of things which you can find based around nature, okay, which he then uses to design and develop his products with. We then got Sir James Dyson. I expect you've all heard of Sir James Dyson, really obviously famous for the Dyson vacuum, working with air pressure. He's obviously done sort of hand dryers as well, so you could do something based around air pressure. Again, look at his products, you can research it, you can look at the PowerPoint which I've given you, which has got some example products on, and see what you can do based around these different designers, again such as Sir James Dyson. Next one is Bethan Gray. Bethan Gray is an award-winning Welsh designer. She's based in London. She creates some really sort of stylish furniture as well as household items. She looks at sort of contrasting colours. She loves the black and white sort of colour scheme and how it works well together. And some really slick sort of designs. So again, you could base your design or product around the colour schemes which she uses, and that would have a link between your product and the style of that particular designer. So it's about creating links. I want to see a clear link when I look at your product and think, okay, this is really creative, this is really imaginative, and actually I can see that they've got their idea from a particular designer which we're looking at now. Then we've got Sir Jonathan Ive, again, British designer, Senior Vice President at Apple, and he was responsible for the iPod, the iMac, again, lots of sort of technology, electronic technology, so perhaps you could design the new latest phone, but give it a particular feature which maybe people haven't sort of come across or used yet. So you can be as, not just creative as imaginative, but as futuristic as you like as well with this particular product. Okay, I really want you to get your brains working on this one. Then we've got Memphis, which is a design movement. This particular design movement was created by Ettore Sossas, which was an Italian designer, and it started in the early 80s. They use really bright, vibrant, bold colours. It's really exciting. They use a lot of geometric shapes, but also, again, it's sort of quite architectural. They look at sort of furniture, but they also look at sort of the inside of how a house might be designed as well. So again, you don't have to design the furniture. You could design some clothing, but actually give it a Memphis sort of style. Okay. In fact, there's some really cool trainers which have been designed using Memphis. So if you type in sort of Memphis designed trainers, you can get an idea of how you could link that particular style to some clothing if you wanted to, for example. And then we go on to the last one, which is Max McMurdo. He's a really sort of up-and-coming designer at the moment. Again, British designer, but he focuses on upcycling. So he'll take a product which may be ready to go into a skip or into a bin or whatever, and he will give it a sort of new lease of life. So he'll look at the 6 R's and how to recycle, reuse, and then obviously transform it into another product. And again, by looking at the PowerPoint, you'll see some examples. I think there's an example of a chair which has been designed and made by transforming an old shopping trolley. There's a sort of sofa or a seat which is an old bath which has a section cut out of it. Or we've got an old engine here, an old car engine, which again has been cleaned up, sheet of glass on top, and it makes a really sort of interesting coffee table. So the sort of thing which you might be, or which you could design. And maybe where I got my inspiration from is for a bathtub chair, which I know you've all seen in the DT room, but again, an old bathtub which was ready for the skip, okay, however, just cut the section off, put it on an old chair which was going to again go into the skip, and you can then give an old product which is ready just to be chucked away, go into landfill, a new lease of life, okay, so you can reuse it or create a new product from it. Alright, so that could have been an example of a product which I designed, okay, doing this activity. What I would like you to do is look at the checklist as well. The checklist obviously has some things which I'd like your design page to include, so you need to make sure your drawings are well presented and well drawn. Think about using stencils, rulers for straight lines and stuff which we talk about in class all the time, which I nag you about all the time. Make sure it's creative, make sure it's imaginative. Don't just design a product which has already been done. Or if you do, can you develop it and change it and add your own feature to it? Okay, or change the shape, change the size, and change the colour scheme. Alright? So think about all those things. I would like you to think about annotating your work, so adding labels. Think about the acronym Access FM. So think about talking about the aesthetics, the cost of a product and why you would cost it in that particular price range. Customer, who would use it, environmental impact, again if you're doing Max McMurdo, really good example of including the 6 R's into that. Size and dimensions, so perhaps you could actually put some measurements on, especially if you're doing some furniture, what sort of size would it need to be. Safety features of the product as well, the function, what is its purpose, what do you want it to do, what should it do. Materials, really important, include the materials, what materials you want it to be made from, why have you selected those particular materials. and also the manufacturing process as well. So can you talk about any of the processes in terms of actually making that particular product? Okay. So obviously this is a drawing activity, so if you draw it up on a piece of paper, talk about the keywords either around the product or do them separately. Take a photo of your work and submit it, and for the first week or two I'm more than happy to accept any submitted work via the portal. Okay, if you're struggling a little bit with Teams or still getting used to it, you can submit it on Teams, but still happy and still going to mark work which is submitted on the portal. Okay, so that's absolutely fine. If there's any questions, please email me in, or not email, but use the chat or use the Teams app to obviously contact me, and I will get back to you. I'm checking that regularly. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Okay? Right, enjoy this activity, Year 8. You've got a week to do it, so there we got a lesson today, okay, which I'll be available for and introduce. You do have a whole week to do this. I'll be looking at marking your work between now and next Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, that information will be on the portal there, so you can see exactly when it's due. Right, okay, over to you. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.